A very pleasant morning to everyone. I wish this day is filled with joy, happiness, and serenity to you and to your family. I'm sure you are finding the English classes useful and beneficial. The methodology that is followed may not be familiar for you, but you will get used to it in the longer run and you will appreciate the benefit of it in the future. So let me begin the day with a thought. Let me derive the thought from one of my experiences. I was a student of theology, that's the science of God, Bachelor of Theology, we call BTH in Mysore. And I had finished my first year and it was time for us for a summer vacation. And during summer vacation, we all go for some exposure program to have some experience of various things that happens in the society. Some go to learn languages, some go and do social work, some go and learn music, things like that. So I had opted to go and learn the local language, Kannada. I finished my experience and I was supposed to come back. And I had come back. I opted to come with the priest in charge of that church, and we came back by motorcycle all the way from the village to Mysore. It was almost more than 100 kilometers plus. And the roads were very bad, rough mud roads, and I was very tired, exposed to the dust, the heat, the wind, etc. And my rector was informed from my side that I'm arriving on this day. He was aware, he had kept dinner ready. When I reached, there was no electricity in the house, and therefore I could see candles being kept everywhere. And I knew there were two fathers, both were elderly, and they might need to use guest rooms, common restrooms in the night. So I kept a candle just above the switch box, deciding to put it off before going to sleep. And after dinner, I was so tired, I wanted to take a little nap and then get up and put off the candle. And unfortunately, I slept off. I opened my eyes early in the morning and my heart was filled with guilt. I had no courage to open my door because I knew my room was just very close to the common restrooms. When I opened, I could see the door frame burnt, dark, wires melted. I somehow just took a walk inside and I could imagine what might have happened in the night. Probably the candle got melted, the switch box got fired, the wires got melted, the window from the door frame got burnt, and probably someone got up and they extinguished the fire with water. So I had no courage to face my rector in charge, and he had just gone out, and I was waiting to meet him. I didn't know what to tell him, how to face him, because I had an intention to put it off, but unfortunately I slept off. When he returned, I looked at him and just said, "Father, I'm really sorry." And having known that I had no purpose of sleeping, I had no intention of causing this accident, the rector told me only these words: "Tony, be careful next time. Tony, be careful next time. Do what is necessary. Get the electrician and do the necessary repair." That's all. I could never ever forget that experience, the mistake that I made. That mistake was my best teacher. The thought that I would like to give today is this: your best teacher is your last mistake. Your best teacher is your last mistake, which means learn from every mistake that you make. Every mistake that you make is going to make you a better person, and the best person in the future. Let's have this particular attitude as we begin the class. It's time for the class test. Please keep your copies ready and I will read the questions once for you later on as instructed. Pause the video, attempt the test, and after which please continue with the lesson. Class test for the day. Question number 1. What was the thought for the day? Question number 2. Does things always happen as per our expectation in life? Is it true in the life of Lenko? Is that true in the life of Lenko? Question number 3. How did Lenko motivate his family members to rise above the situation? Question number 4. Was Lenko rewarded for his unshakable faith in God? And question number 5. Do you appreciate the response of the postmaster and his colleagues in context of Lenko's letter to God? Do you suggest any other manner of responding to such situations? So take your time, quickly, maybe 5 to 7 minutes, finish the class test and please continue with the lesson. Now we shall move on to the last part of Unit 1. We have seen a prose title, A Letter to God. Then in the previous class we saw a poem titled Dust of Snow written by Robert Frost. And now today we are going to see the last part of the Unit 1 with a poem, a short poem of 8 lines, 2 stanzas, titled Fire and Ice, written by the same author, Robert Frost. Look at the picture of Robert Frost in his ripened age, in his old age, with all his experiences. Now let me introduce the poem to you. I have already spoken to you about the author in the previous class, as the poem that we saw, Dust and Snow, is also written by Robert Frost. Now we shall only just get to know some essential information regarding the background to this particular poem called Fire and Ice. Fire and Ice is a popular poem written by this American poet Robert Frost, who lived between 1874 to 1963. And this poem, Fire and Ice, was written and published in 1920, shortly after World War I, and weighs up the probability of 2 differing apocalyptic scenarios represented by the elements of the poem's title. The author or the speaker believes fire to be the more likely world ender of the 2 and links it directly with what he or she has tasted of desire. So in an ironically conversational tone, the speaker adds that ice, which represents the hate and indifference, would also be great as a way of bringing about the end of the world. There are 2 reported inspirations for the poem. The first of these is Dante's Inferno, which is a poetic and literary journey into hell, written somewhere in the 14th century. The other is a reported conversation Frost probably had with an astronomer, in which they talked about the sun exploding or extinguishing, fire or ice. So this is a little background to the poem. Now we shall move on to the model reading of the poem. Kindly take page number 14. Please listen to the reading with utmost attention. Fire and Ice, written by Robert Frost. Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. From what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction ice is also great and would suffice. I hope you listened to the way the poem was read. Take little time to read on your own. I told you, when you read a poem loud, you tend to understand and appreciate the poem better. Please take time and then see that you do your personal reading. And in case you have some difficult words, do underline so that we will learn the meaning of those words in order to appreciate and understand the meaning of the poem in a better manner. It's time for the explanation of the poem. If you look at Robert Frost, he is a poet who was very much modern in spirit and traditional in the way he wrote the poetry. Modern in spirit and traditional in the style of writing poetry. And if you look at this poem, Fire and Ice is a short poem consisting of two stanzas which deals with two possibilities of destruction of the world. How the poet has used the two elements, namely fire and ice, both literally and symbolically, is worth appreciating. The title of the poem, Fire and Ice, is short and crisp. The title of the poem, Fire and Ice, is short and crisp but meaningful. It contains in itself the whole gist of the poem. Fire and ice are used symbolically for two contrary sets of emotions. And Robert Frost, the author of the poem, shows the prevalence of fiery passions like fury, cruelty, violence, and greed, as well as of the cold feelings like hatred, indifference, and insensitivity. Let us now move on to the deeper meaning of the poem. Hatred, desire, and end of the world. Fire, ice, and end of the world. So, despite its light and conversational tone, Fire and Ice is a bleak poem that highlights human beings' talent for self destruction. That means human beings are capable of destroying themselves. This particular poem is a work of eschatology. Eschatology means something, a writing which deals about the end of the world. So, therefore, this poem is a work of eschatology and it poses two possible causes for the end: fire and ice. The speaker uses these natural elements as symbols for desire and hatred. So these symbols, natural elements, are used as symbols for desire and hatred, respectively, arguing that both emotions left unchecked have the capacity to destroy human civilization itself. If you don't have a control over your desire, if you don't have a control over your hatred, it is going to destroy you, it is going to destroy the humanity. So, therefore, the speaker begins by relating that when it comes to how the world will end, some people favor fire. Fire means desire. And some people favor ice, which means hatred. At this early stage of the poem, these two elements could easily relate to a natural disaster. It may look like a natural disaster. For example, a potential world ending fire could be something like an asteroid that most likely destroyed the dinosaurs. And ice could relate to a future ice age or the extinguishment of the sun. But as soon as those more naturalistic ends to the world are suggested, But as soon as those more naturalistic ends to the world are suggested, the poem changes direction and makes it clear that fire and ice are symbols not of natural disasters but of humanity's ability to create disasters of its own. So, what does the author mean by fire? By fire, the speaker actually means desire. And from the speaker's limited personal experience, the speaker knows desire to be a powerfully destructive force. I repeat once again, desire to be a powerfully destructive force. Humanity then could bring about the end of the world through passion, anger, violence, greed, and bloodlust. So, all these things are the result of desire, the counterproducts of desire. Desire gives birth to passion, anger, violence, greed, and bloodlust. So, indeed, the fire now seems like an image of warfare. Please remember, this particular poem was just written shortly after the end of World War I. And therefore, he had seen destruction, he has seen death, and therefore, he feels it is the desire which is responsible for the destruction of humanity, which is responsible for the destruction of human life. Though the speaker feels fire is likely way for humanity to destroy itself and the world. Okay, although the speaker feels the fire is the likely way, meaning to say desire is a likely way for humanity to destroy itself and the world, the speaker also feels that human beings' capacity for destruction is so great that it could bring about this destruction more than once. So, this destruction is not going to be once, more than once. It can repeat itself because of the ability, the innate ability of a man, which can be triggered from desire, which can be triggered from greed, which can be triggered from passion, etc. Now, the author shifts gear by presenting eyes as another method for ending the self and the world. And he aligns this eyes with that of hatred. So, hatred is equivalent to eyes. It also has the innate power. Hatred has an innate power for self destruction and destruction of the humanity. And here we need to understand ice works differently from fire in this eschatological prediction. What is going to happen? The end of the world. Okay. Human destruction does not have to be bright, noisy, and violent. Okay. Here the author is trying to tell us that these two elements, natural elements, can be a source of destruction. And that destruction, which is self destruction or destruction of the humanity or the destruction of the world or the entire universe, need not be bright, noisy, and violent, which means to say, need not be external. This element called eyes, which is equivalent to hatred, can spread in more subtle ways, in small ways, in ways that are not noticeable. So, eyes has connotations of coldness and indifference. And so, a possible reading here is that the end of the world can be brought about by inaction rather than some singular major event. Meaning to say, we can destroy the other, we can destroy self by our inaction, by our indifference, by our silence, by our coldness, rather than a huge event of World War II, World War III, etc. And therefore, on the whole, when you look at this particular poem, in just 9 short lines, Fire and Ice offers a powerful warning about human nature. Okay, meaning to say, desire and hatred has got such a power that is very destructive. So, finally, it is important to notice something that isn't in the poem. Okay, any hint of a possibility that humanity won't end the world. Any hint of a possibility that humanity won't end the world. So, having seen the explanation part of the poem, we shall move on to the evaluation part. The first question is, the poet believes that ice to be the more likely world ender. Is it true? The poet believes ice to be the more likely world ender. Meaning to say, ice is responsible for the end of the world. Is that true as according to poem? Second, Dante's Inferno was written in dash century. Number 3, do you believe in the end of the world? State reasons. If you believe, say yes and give reasons. If you do not believe, say no and give your reasons. Finally, mention the symbolic meaning of fire and ice. Kindly finish this. Take your time and try to finish this evaluation quickly, and then we shall try to go for the next stage of our lesson. It's time to rewind, and in order to refresh our memories of what we have discussed from the beginning till now in the class. We know this particular poem, Fire and Ice, is written by Robert Frost. He states that there are two schools of thought which holds contrary opinions about how the world would meet its end. Some people are of the view that the world would end because of intense heat. In other words, the deep heat in the earth will lead to natural calamities like volcanoes, earthquakes, and tsunamis, which will one day end the earth. The sun may emit scorching rays and the world may burn down. On the contrary, there are others who believe that the sun might lose its heat, leaving the world frozen to end. But however, from his own experience, the poet describes to the opinion of those who think that the world will end in fire. There are two opinions, but the authors seem to be supporting the first opinion, that the world will end in fire. So here fire and ice are not used alone literally, but they have symbolic meaning. Fire stands for fierce, fiery, violent passions, whereas ice, on the other hand, is a symbol of cold feelings, inaction, indifference, coldness, etc. Hope this reflection by Robert Frost in and through the poem Fire and Ice gave you some insight that we all have an innate ability to destroy ourselves and the other, which can be in the form of desire, which can be in the form of hatred. And therefore, beware that we have the power within. Destructions are not just external, it can be internal, which could be more powerful, more subtle than what you and I believe. God bless you and have a good day. Thank you.